Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the rLounge. When family secrets hit the fan, canceling the wedding venue was just the tip of the iceberg. Today in the rLounge, it's a battle of the patriarchs. Stepdaughter called her loser bio dad to walk her down the aisle. I canceled the wedding. I don't know if I should have done this. I have canceled the wedding venue of my stepdaughter. Now that I have done it, I'm going to stand by my decision no matter how guilty I feel. So yeah, some time ago I canceled the booking of the wedding venue of my stepdaughter. The wedding is supposed to be 2 days later, on this Saturday. I'm also aware of the fact that canceling the venue means indirectly canceling the wedding because they can't get a new venue at the last moment, and unless they do a courtroom wedding, there's no way they're going to be married this Saturday. Before you guys judge me, I have my reason for that. Hear me out. I have always had a troubled relationship with my stepdaughter. She's an entitled brat. Ever since I got married to her mother, she has been nothing but evil to me. I'm 61 male. I married June, 54 female, 14 years ago. This was the second marriage for both of us. I have 3 sons from my first wife. I have joint custody of the 3 sons until they became adults and moved out of their mother's house. All 3 live on their own and visit me sometimes during Christmas. June has a daughter, Nancy, 23 female, who has been a pain in the butt ever since she came into my life. She never liked me. The day she was introduced to me, she made it clear that I'd not be her father and she's going to see me only as her mother's husband. It was quite a bummer for me because I was excited to be the father of a daughter. I had 3 boys, so I had always wanted a girl. While dating, when June said she had a daughter, I was over the moon to have a little daughter. Her decision was disappointing, yet I respected it and never crossed my line. I thought to become her friend and did everything to make her stay comfortable at my house. She was a notorious kid and gave her mother a tough time. She barely passed her school exams. She would sneak out of the school and get into trouble with the teacher. She was even caught taking pills for which she was suspended for a week. Most of the time I used to ignore her evilness as teenage rage. I thought it would be subsiding with time. I had seen it with my boys. They had become calm and mature as the teenage years passed. So I encouraged June to be patient with Nancy, and she grounded her. But Nancy is a different being. She was evil. Her teacher suggested we enroll her in therapy to ease her teenage turmoil. So we did. The therapy helped her a little. Her attitude towards me also got better. She wasn't bright in studies. She said she wanted to drop out of high school and pursue modeling. June was against this. She wanted Nancy to complete her education and then do whatever she wanted. The situation blew up between them. I intervened and suggested that she can start her modeling career while in school, and if she gets a breakthrough, then we can have this discussion. They both agreed to this, but I had to bear the cost of meddling. I paid for her portfolio shoot, makeovers, clothes, and God knows a lot of gibberish stuff. I happily did it as a way to bond with Nancy. She also started treating me as her dad. Sometimes she even called me dad, and it brought tears to my eyes. Though she moved out after high school, she continued to reach out to me for money. Sometimes, she even asked me not to tell her mother about it because June would get mad at her for taking money from me. She used to give me a reason that she was not getting enough modeling assignments, and if she told her mother, she would ask her to quit. Nancy was confident that one day her career would fly, and as a supportive dad, I stood by her. Eventually, she started reciprocating my feelings. Fast forward to 6 months ago, when she announced that her boyfriend had proposed to her, and they were going to get married this spring. We were happy for her, but we cautioned her to think again because her career was still unstable. June is an independent woman, and she wanted Nancy to also be financially independent before marrying, but as usual, Nancy didn't listen. She and her fiancé planned their wedding this month. Nancy wanted a perfect wedding for herself. One of my friends owns a beautiful farmhouse by the lakes. He rents this place for weddings. There was no way Nancy would have been able to afford the wedding there. He charged in bombs. It is not only about rent, it is also difficult to secure a booking of that place because it is so high in demand. So very cleverly, she asked me if I could talk to my friend and rent the venue for her. The way she requested me, I could not say no. Nancy knows how to get away with her demands. She plans her move way ahead of time. For the last 1 year, she's been showering love on me. She posted a long, heartfelt message on Father's Day and tagged me on several posts related to dad and father's love. I was over the moon. Little did I know that she was setting up a ground to take favors from me. So when she asked me to talk to my friend about booking his farmhouse, I didn't hesitate for a moment and said yes. It's kind of funny how easy it was for her to manipulate me. I called up my friend and asked him about it. He said it was difficult as this was wedding season. I'll call them for a drink and then explain the situation to him as to how important it was for me. I know I went too far to make myself likable. My friend called up his manager and confirmed the bookings for Nancy's wedding. He even gave me a hefty discount on the booking. Even with the discount, Nancy couldn't afford it, so I paid for it. When I told Nancy about the booking confirmation, she ran and hugged me. She cried like a baby and said she couldn't have gotten a better father. It was such a happy moment in my life. It feels so disheartening that all those were fake. Her true color came out in her pre-wedding dinner. Unlike our times, when pre-wedding dinner was just between two families, these days it's like a small wedding. They called it to be a ring ceremony where they exchanged rings and announced their wedding date. The ceremony was followed by a dinner. It was all fun and laughter until I saw someone in my face turn pale. It was June's ex-husband. June and I exchanged looks, and she was equally petrified to find him at the party. Nancy was too busy to be questioned at that time, so we let it slide. It is not like June and I have a problem with Nancy having contact with her bio dad. The thing is, her bio dad is an abuser. He's an alcoholic and a loser. He was leeching on June's mom while mentally abusing her. When the mental abuse turned into physical, June left him for her own good. Since then, he has been a ghost to June and Nancy. If he had the slightest feelings for his daughter, he would have called her or tried to meet her, but he never checked on his daughter. So seeing him suddenly at the party was a shock for both of us. He was still a loser. One could say it with the way he was gulping free wine sitting in the dark corner of the hall. I didn't have a good feeling about his presence, but we tried to brush it off, thinking Nancy would have called him just for a formality. After the ring ceremony, she raised a toast to the man she loved the most. She described him to be the one who always had her back, loved her unconditionally, and is the most important person in her life. I was stupid to think it was about me. I sat there blushing like a clown. I hate myself for being so delusional. I made castle in the air, imagining she would call me onto the stage and tell everyone that the toast was about me. We'll hug each other and cry and express our love for each other. All my daydreaming shattered when she called her loser bio dad. She hugged him and cried and thanked him for loving her without any motive. I felt it was an indirect jab at me. Her dad grinned at me as if he read my delusional mind. June was also very upset with Nancy. After that moment, we both remained at our table, holding each other's hands for the rest of the night. Nancy knew she effed up, or maybe she did it intentionally, because she never came to our table and spent the rest of the evening with her fiancé, friends, and her dad. June wanted to confront her right after the party, but Nancy was happy with the night's festivities, so we decided to discuss this later. Earlier, Nancy was living with her fiancé, but 1 month before the wedding, she moved in with us as a ritual to remain distant from her fiancé. She would move back with him after the wedding. 2 days later, which was a week ago, Nancy came home after her engagement night's hangover subsided. June couldn't hold herself. She asked Nancy what made her call her dad to the function. Nancy behaved as if June had said something offensive. She blew up. She said he was her dad and she didn't need anyone's approval to invite her dad. June got angry at her answer and reminded her how her dad was an abuser and abandoned her after the divorce. June asked her how she got in touch with her dad. Nancy started yelling at June and said it was all June's fault that she couldn't have her father in her life. Nancy also accused June of manipulating her against her father. Nancy said her dad reached out on Facebook and insisted on meeting her. In Nancy's words, he cried like a baby and told me the truth about you and him, me. He told me how you gaslighted the situation at home when he caught you cheating on him. You blocked him from meeting me and fed me the lies that he didn't come to see me. I hate myself for being resentful of my poor dad. You left him because he was poor. It was because of the pain you gave him that he turned alcoholic. It seemed that Nancy was directly pasting the words her father had told her. What a liar he was. I don't interfere in their discussion, but Nancy was turning mean towards June and was hurting her with cruel words. So I calmly asked Nancy where this was coming from. She gave me a deadly look as if I asked something very terrible. She said, "My dad is the only one who cares for me and loves me unconditionally, unlike you who just pretends to love me. You're pretentious. You only pretend to care for me to impress mom. My dad doesn't need to impress anyone." June got so mad at her for talking to me like this. June said, "Enough of overhyping your loser dad. He's nothing but a piece of crap who abused me mentally and physically. He doesn't love you." Nancy was not ready to accept that her dad was abusive. God knows what lies he has fed her that she started hating us overnight. The argument between June and Nancy got so ugly that June said she wouldn't attend Nancy's wedding. I tried to calm them down, but Nancy charged at me and said I should stop pretending and shouldn't overstep my boundaries. She said she's fine if June and I didn't want to attend her wedding because she didn't need us either, and that her dad is just enough for her as he was going to walk her down the aisle. I was so disappointed at this point I couldn't keep myself composed. I said, "Really, Nancy? You're going to take this away from me just because of this argument?" She laughed at my face and said, "Did you really think you would be walking beside me on my wedding day? Delusional you. Remember when Mom introduced you for the first time? I told you not to become my father. Did you forget that?" I was aghast at her changing colors. I could have reminded her of all the favors I have done for her. I had her back all the time, even when her mom gave up on her. In return, I'm getting this. I was so disheartened that I pushed off and went to my bedroom. After I left, I overheard June and Nancy still yelling at each other, but I had zoned out. Sometime later, June came to me and hugged me and cried. She apologized profusely for Nancy's behavior. I was feeling so down that I didn't say anything. June has told Nancy that she won't attend the wedding if her father walks her down the aisle. I told June not to be so harsh on Nancy. After all, that man is her dad, no matter what. A couple of days ago, we found something that forced me to make a decision that no dad would ever do: cancel her wedding. I don't know how, but June caught hold of Nancy's last 1 year's bank statements, and we found that she had been transferring money to her dad. It was shocking because Nancy doesn't earn enough and she borrows money from June and me to make her ends meet. The amount was also not small. It was like $10,000 monthly. It looked like her dad was feeding on Nancy's money, or rather our money. June could no longer contain herself and she barged into Nancy's room asking her what does she think she was doing. The next 1 hour, my house turned into a battlefield. Nancy proudly accepted that she was helping her dad financially because he needed the money. June reminded her that she was thriving on our money and she had no right to give our money to dad without telling us. Nancy refused to accept that she did anything wrong by giving our money to him. It came out that her dad had been manipulating her against us and extorting money from her, feeding her with lies and his low-life, sad stories. Nancy crossed all limits when she started abusing her mother, calling her whore. I almost was about to slap her, but when I stopped myself. June lost her mind and threw all of Nancy's belongings out of the house and said she was on her own now and that we were no longer going to help her in any way. I somehow pacified June and brought her into the bedroom. Meanwhile, Nancy vandalized the room she had been staying in, breaking the lights, furniture, window panes, and pulling down the curtains. She abused me on top of her voice, calling me a simp and womanizer before leaving the house. Writing this down is making me 10 times angrier, and I feel like canceling her wedding venue was a very light form of punishment for her. I should have done more harm to her, maybe called the cops on her and gotten her arrested. As soon as she left, I called my friend and requested him to cancel the booking I made for Nancy's wedding. I offered him the full amount so that he doesn't incur any loss. He asked me if everything was fine. I said, let's park the story for the next drinking evening, but right now, cancel the booking. His manager canceled it on the portal and sent me a confirmation. I'm not a vindictive man, but this time Nancy had taken her narcissism too far. Let's break it down. You were playing the good stepdad, doling out cash like it was Monopoly money, only to find out your stepdaughter was funneling it straight to her deadbeat dad. Talk about a family financial plan gone wrong. And her dad? Sounds like he crawled out of the gutter just in time to cash in on his daughter's hard-earned dough. Classy move, Pops. But hey, at least you had a monetary lapse of should've, could've, would've. But considering calling the cops, that would have been the ultimate mic drop. A real wedding crasher move. Imagine the bride-to-be getting cuffed instead of walking down the aisle. Canceling the wedding venue might be the tough love Nancy needed. Sometimes, a wake-up call comes in the form of a canceled reservation rather than a gentle nudge. Sure, it's a drastic move, but in a situation where lines are blurred and trust was shattered, sometimes drastic measures are necessary. By taking action, you set up a boundary and send a clear message. Enough is enough. Update 1. Hello all. Thanks for the validation of my action. Though I wasn't seeking for one, but it feels nice to know that I wasn't being the monster. Here's the updates of what happened next. Though I was stiff all the while that what I did was right, the day before the wedding, my guilty conscience kicked in. I sent her voicemail that she should arrange her new wedding venue because I canceled the last one, but she had blocked me. I felt relieved that at least I tried to do my last-minute damage control. Now it's on her. We just sat there at home to see what happened next. On the day of the wedding, my phone gets bombarded with several texts, voicemails, and calls from Nancy, asking why didn't the guards allow them inside the premises. I saw my phone blowing up, but I didn't respond. It was fun to watch her helpless. She went as far as trespassing at the venue along with her friends. My friend called me up asking me what should he do because she was not ready to leave, giving the venue management a tough time. I asked him to call the cops on her and do whatever he would have done with other trespassers. He took the hint and called the cops and got them arrested. Sadly for the groom, he and his friends also got into trouble because they were also standing near the venue gate arguing with the security personnel. The groom's dad called me, asking me what's the matter because it was embarrassing for him. Their guests were also supposed to arrive in a few hours, and the venue was blocked. I told him the matter in brief, and he was shocked. He said he would quickly call up all his guests and tell them that the wedding is postponed. He was definitely irate, but didn't show his anger to me. June had blocked Nancy and said whatever happened, she was not getting her help anymore. The next day, the groom's dad called me and said he wanted to meet me. I refused, but he said it was important. He promised to keep it discreet. He showed up at our house. We were hesitant to open up in front of him, but he insisted that he needed to know the truth because his son's future is at stake. He was shocked to know the truth about Nancy and her dad because they had been fed with a different version of the story. Nancy has told her fiancé and his family that I was an evil stepdad and didn't let her meet her father, who was a golden man, and that June was cheated on him to marry me. P.S. June and I met 3 years after the divorce. Nancy told us that the cops had arrested all of them, including Nancy's Dot. According to the cops, he was the most notorious one, encouraging everyone to climb the wall and get inside the venue. The cops also revealed that Nancy's dad had been registered with other petty cases in the past. This got him suspicious about Nancy's stories, and he came to us to know the truth. He said that he understood that no one would go to such lengths to cancel their daughter's wedding unless it's something extreme. I asked him if Nancy got married in a court or what's their next move. He said they are planning a small wedding next month because they have exhausted a lot of money this time and didn't get a refund from caterers and decorators. He also gave a hint that there might not be any wedding because he's going to tell Nancy's truth to his son. He suspected that Nancy might be poaching his son's money after dad. But now that we have curled up our hands. 2 days ago, we got a call on our house phone and a man was yelling at June for ripping them off the free money. He was June's ex-husband. He was laughing like a maniac. He said it took him just one meeting and some tears to manipulate Nancy against us, and since then, he had been living on our money. Nancy was sending him money for his monthly expenditures. What a loser. He said now that we have cut off ties with Nancy, she's no longer helping him with the money, so he's going to disappear again. He's still that alcoholic loser he had been years ago. We have no update about Nancy yet. June and I have blocked her number, and she doesn't have a face-to-face to show up to our house after what she had done to all of us. Now, I don't feel guilty about canceling the venue. I feel proud of my decision. I'll be happier if her fiancé breaks up with her. I'll take credit for saving his life. I met her fiancé a couple of times and he seemed to be a good lad. I mean, yes, she has been lying and fooling him. She is still as mean and narcissistic as she was in her teenage years. She doesn't deserve any love because she doesn't respect it. Canceling the wedding venue might just be the best decision you've made since getting roped into this family drama, OP. You've tried to warn her, but she decided to play hardball, so why not sit back and enjoy the show? Nancy's frantic calls and failed attempts at breaking and entering talk about a bridezilla on a mission, and her dad? Classic move, showing up just to rub salt in the wound. At least he's consistent, if nothing else. And let's not forget that the groom's family getting caught in the crossfire. Talk about collateral damage. But hey, they say love is blind, right? Well, it seems like Nancy had everyone wearing blindfolds with her tall tales and evil stepdads and cheating moms. And as for her poor fiancé, well, let's just say that he dodged a bullet bigger than Texas. Imagine being married to someone whose idea of honesty is about as reliable as a politician's promise. Yeah, no thanks. What would you have done? Would you have canceled the wedding venue? Why or why not? And thanks for joining us today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell before you leave. We'd love to hear your thoughts on today's topic, so feel free to leave a comment. See you next time in the rLounge.